Set in New York City, the story focuses on a middle-aged man named Levon Cade. He works as a construction foreman, leading a crew of laborers in building a massive structure. Levon is highly respected by all his workers because of his kind nature and the fact that he never makes things difficult when one of them asks for an advance on their pay.
Tell her thank you. Good day. Jen, you work hard today?
After finishing the briefing with his crew, Levon went to the office of the vendor, the man funding the project, to deliver his report. His name was Joe Garcia, the employer financing the construction. Joe wasn't alone. He was supported by his wife and their daughter, Jenny. You could say this was truly a family business, one that had been built and held together through years of hard work and sacrifice.
No, Mom. I can find.
Nobody's arguing that.
That was when two debt collectors showed up, demanding payment from one of the workers. They didn't just demand it, they beat the poor man right there on the spot. Levon, witnessing the scene, couldn't just stand by and do nothing.
I'll go 5 minutes.
Not long after, more of the debt collector's buddies arrived, forcing Levon to react quickly. Without hesitation, he drew his firearm. Whoever Levon was in his past, he didn't show even the slightest trace of fear or hesitation. And that alone was enough to make the debt collectors back off and leave.
Get back to work.
After finishing his work, Levon headed to his father-in-law's house to visit his little daughter. It turned out Levon had once built a family of his own, but fell apart after his wife passed away. His daughter, Mary, was left in the care of her grandfather, which meant Levon had to make regular visits just to check on her.
But I will.
I'm super hungry. I didn't eat.
Let's go.
For a moment, let's step away from Levon and turn our focus to Jenny, Joe's daughter. At this time, Jenny is out at a nightclub, enjoying herself with her college friends. She has no idea that lurking around them are dangerous men, operating with careful coordination and precision. Their eyes are fixed on Jenny, marking her as their target to be sold into a human trafficking network. And before anyone realizes what's happening, Jenny is kidnapped right there on the spot. The next morning, as Levon arrives at the construction site, he notices several police officers walking out of his employer's office. It turns out Joe and his wife have just received the devastating news. Their beloved daughter, Jenny, has gone missing. And with the police proving unreliable, Joe and his wife turn desperately to Levon, asking him to find Jenny as quickly as possible.
As a police captain in Philly, and she says they don't work these cases. Can you help us?
I'm a different person now.
It wasn't without reason that Joe turned to Levon for help. Levon wasn't just an ordinary man. He was a former paratrooper who had retired from the military 5 years earlier. Not just any soldier, but one of the very best. A man who had been deployed to multiple war zones. With that kind of experience, Joe knew Levon was the only one who stood a chance. Desperate to save his daughter, Joe even offered his entire life savings if Levon would agree to find
You
Jenny.
have another 20 for expenses.
Come on, just...
I'm sorry. It's not who I am anymore.
After turning down Joe's request, Levon headed deep into the woods to visit one of his old military comrades, a man who preferred living in solitude. His name's Gunny Lefferty. There, Levon opened up about Jenny's disappearance and Joe's desperate plea for help. But Levon also explained why he had refused. He didn't want to return to the man he once was, the soldier who had retired because of his own brutality. Back in the day, Levon had been merciless, never sparing a single enemy he faced. That darkness was the very reason he walked away from the military.
Now you do this, you better lock in. You better go full on, no half measures, but you do. God help them.
After gaining clarity from Gunny, Levon went back to see Joe to apologize for turning him down earlier. This time, Levon made a decision from his heart. He would search for Jenny, not for money, not for reward, but out of sheer conscience. He told Joe to keep his savings because Levon wasn't going to take a single dime.
I'm gonna bring her home. I promise.
Wasting no time, Levon went straight to the nightclub where Jenny was last seen. His instincts immediately zeroed in on a bartender whose suspicious behavior stood out. It didn't take long for Lavon to realize this man wasn't just serving drinks. He had been directly involved in Jenny's abduction the night before. Using a tiny tracking device he secretly attached to the bartender's car, Lavon quickly discovered the location of his private residence. Without knocking, Lavon stormed inside.
Hello, Johnny. See you wins. Good.
While Lavon was interrogating the bartender, two men suddenly barged inside. Without hesitation, Lavon yanked the bartender toward him, using him as cover. After the bartender and his two accomplices were dead, Lavon finally realized they were part of a Russian gang notorious for serious crimes. Since he couldn't extract any leads from the bartender, Lavon decided to keep watch over the house, hoping someone would eventually show up. And sure enough, the next morning, two flashy-looking twin brothers showed up, accompanied by a man named Wolod. The moment Wolod saw the bartender and his two men lying dead, he immediately called in a cleanup crew to take care of the mess.
The fucking door opens itself.
As soon as the twins and Wolod left, Lavon quietly tailed their car from a distance. The pursuit led him all the way to the outskirts of the city, where they pulled into a lavish mansion, Wolod's very own residence. Armed with the military gear he had brought along, Lavon kept a close watch on Wolod from a distance. It didn't take long for him to realize the kind of man Wolod truly was, a ruthless figure, and even a violent husband who wasn't afraid to lay his hands on his own wife. Moments after Wolod's wife left the house, Lavon didn't hesitate. He moved in swiftly, slipping inside the mansion to confront Wolod face to face. Here sits Wolod, tied to a chair placed at the edge of his luxurious swimming pool. At first, Wolod assumed Lavon was just another hired gun, sent by one of his business rivals. But the moment Lavon showed him a photo of Jenny, reality struck hard. Wolod realized that the man standing before him was no ordinary opponent, and definitely not someone to be trifled with.
Succhinsyn, Dimi.
Give me the girl.
Ja proszę ti riaposera.
Not understanding a single word of the Russian Wolod was spitting out, Lavon cut him off sharply, laying it out in cold, brutal honesty. He would never stop until Jenny was safely brought home, and if Wolod refused to give him the information he needed, then this was the consequence. After finishing Wolod off by drowning him in his own pool, Lavon replayed the words he had heard. With a quick translation of the Russian, one name surfaced, Dimi. This man might hold the key to Jenny's whereabouts.
Who ain't Dimi?
After Wolod's body was discovered, the twins, his loyal subordinates, soon welcomed the arrival of a man with a far higher rank in the mafia circle. His name was Simon, Wolod's closest friend within the family, even considered a brother. So, when news of Wolod's death reached him, Simon refused to stand by. With cold fury burning in his eyes, he vowed to unleash the full force of the organization. Every enforcer, every hitman, every contact in his vast network would be mobilized. He would not rest until the one responsible was found and destroyed.
Find this man and bring him to me.
Back to Lavon, he contacts his trusted friend in the police force, asking about Wolo and the mafia group tied to him, including a figure named Dimi. That's when Lavon discovers the shocking truth. Dimi is actually Wolo's biological son, and uncover any lead about Jenny's whereabouts.
There's a bar called Hattie's in Joliet where they sell meth for the Russians.
Maybe you should get a beer there.
Nice one.
Upon arriving at the bar, Lavon instantly draws the full attention of the security team. The atmosphere tightens, every eye scanning the unfamiliar face. When one of the guards is sent to approach him, Lavon calmly flashes a thick stack of cash, claiming he's there to buy something forbidden. Tempted by the offer, the guard wastes no time. He escorts Lavon straight to a private room where the bar's owner awaits. And here he is, Dutch, the ruthless bar owner and drug lord who rules this territory with an iron fist. The moment he lays eyes on Lavon, his instincts scream that this man doesn't belong here. Without wasting words, Dutch signals with a flick of his hand. 10 of his men immediately rise, circling Lavon like wolves around prey.
Enough!
Seeing that Levon is no ordinary man, Dutch finally shows a hint of respect, lowering his guard just enough to acknowledge him. Instead of pressing further, Dutch allows Levon to stay. Levon seizes the moment, calmly laying out his intention. He wants to purchase a massive shipment of illegal goods. Of course, it's nothing but a trick. His real goal is far more dangerous: to use this cover as a way to get closer to someone higher up in the chain of power.
And bring 5 stacks.
After receiving the special phone meant for their communication, Dutch handed Levon a bag filled with illegal goods as an initial sample. But Levon's mission had nothing to do with drugs. Without hesitation, he tossed the bag aside, showing no concern at all, even though its street value could have easily reached hundreds of thousands of dollars. For a moment, we leave Levon's path and shift our focus to Jenny, who remains trapped in a hidden place. It is here that we are introduced to 2 key figures running the machinery of human trafficking: Artemis and her boyfriend, Viper. They are not just lovers, but a pair of predators, thriving on cruelty and corruption. By chance, a wealthy businessman had placed an order, eager to taste something new. Without hesitation, Artemis and Viper prepared Jenny for delivery, shoving her into a black suitcase as if she were nothing more than a commodity. The businessman screamed in pain. Jenny had bitten him hard, blood dripping from his arm. Furious, Artemis and Viper dragged her back to their hideout. Meanwhile, Levon received a call from Dutch. He told him the time had come to meet the real kingpin. But there was one condition. Levon had to wear a sharp suit. This wasn't just another dealer, this was a man of power. Though it felt heavy and uncomfortable, Levon forced himself into a sharp suit to meet the kingpin. When he arrived, armed guards were everywhere, proof enough that the man he was about to face was truly someone of great importance. After being searched and asked to hand over his phone, Levon is finally introduced to the big boss with long hair. And guess what his name is?
My name is Dimi.
Yes, this is Dimi, the man Levon has been searching for, Wolo's very own son. After going through every record and detail of his past, Dimi finally believes in Levon and agrees to supply the goods in massive quantities. Realizing that Demi wouldn't be easy to approach and that it would take time and strategy to get to him, Levon searched for another lead to find Jenny. Using a video recording from the bartender's phone, he spotted a familiar face, Viper. Without wasting a moment, Levon headed straight to the bar to track him down. Upon arriving at the bar, Levon, who had already hacked into the operator's communications, immediately realized that he was being hunted, so he quickly seized a motorcycle, and a chase scene became inevitable.
Fuck! He just fucking left in a bike!
Unlucky for him, 2 officers on patrol turned out to be part of the same mafia syndicate. So Levon was immediately taken by the twins to be handed over to Mr. Simon.
You're in the payroll, too. Right.
And if the twins thought they were tough for capturing Levon, they were gravely mistaken, because with their eccentric style, awkward, flashy, and over the top, it wasn't nearly enough to save them from the blazing wrath of Levon. After Levon successfully took down the twins, their bodies were brought before Simon, who grew even more furious over what Levon had done. Fueled by rage, Simon met with his fellow mafia leaders to request the help of two professional assassins.
That will help you find Dimi.
The first place Simon visited was Dimi's nightclub, which was suddenly bombarded with a hail of hot bullets by one of the professional assassins. Simon was furious at Dimi, blaming him as the main cause of his father's death and now the loss of the twins, whom Simon had considered his own children. In a fit of rage, Simon revealed Levon's identity to Dimi, warning him that he was the very man Levon was hunting and that Levon would never stop until he reached his ultimate goal. Since Demi was considered incapable of handling the problem, the two hired assassins turned to a hacker to track down Levon's identity. Their search eventually led them to the address of his father-in-law. When Levon arrived home with his daughter after school, he was met with a horrifying sight. The house was already engulfed in raging flames. Luckily, his father-in-law was rescued in time, barely escaping the inferno. Realizing that his family had now been dragged into the conflict, Levon took his father-in-law and daughter to Gani's residence, entrusting them to his care. At the same time, he asked Gani for a small favor: firearms. With these weapons in hand, Levon prepared for his final move, determined to end this bloody feud once and for all. At the same time, elsewhere, Jenny was being taken by Artemis and Viper into the woods for execution. Inside the car, she struggled and fought back, causing it to crash. Jenny quickly ran into the forest and managed to free herself from the ropes. She made it to the road and encountered two police officers on patrol, but her relief turned to dread because the officers were part of the same group all along.
Miss me?
Just as Jenny was about to be executed, a call came in from a businessman who wanted to meet her again.
I want a second date tonight at the farmhouse.
Because of this, Artemis and Viper abandoned their plan and decided to take Jenny to him instead. Switching to Dimi's nightclub with several armed guards watching over the place, they are unaware that Levon has already arrived and will not hesitate to wipe them all out.
Okay. Now we make a deal and you begin a new life as a wealthy.
I figured that.
After all the guards are dead, Levon immediately approaches Dimi, who is already powerless. Levon demands Dimi to show him where Jenny is, and only then will his life be spared.
Head south on 57.
Let's go.
Upon arriving at the place where Jenny is being held, Levon orders Dimi to step out of the car. Dimi still wonders why Levon would go so far to protect a girl who has nothing to do with him.
Why do you hunt us?
You have a daughter?
No.
Then you won't understand.
After Dimi's death, Dutch and his men finally received word about Levon, who had already slaughtered half a dozen of Dimi's crew. Realizing that he too would be hunted, Dutch and his forces immediately prepared to head to the place where Jenny was being held, determined to hunt Levon first. Levon once again turned brutal, wiping out Artemis and Viper men who were standing guard just as Jenny was about to be taken by the businessman. At the same time, Dutch and his forces arrived, making the situation even more tense.
The fuck was that?
Who's gonna get fucked now, huh?
Finished with the henchman, it was now time for Levon to face Dutch, who was also a former soldier. But with his bald head and massive body, Dutch still wasn't strong enough to stand against someone as formidable as Levon. With no one left standing in his way, Levon went straight to the room where Jenny was being held, where the arrogant businessman sat with full confidence, showing no fear at all as if nothing could touch him. While Levon was beating Viper, Jenny herself turned brutal by hooking her jaw against Artemis's neck and the tension was far from over because two assassins sent by Simon had just arrived. Unlike the previous enemies, these two were completely insane, firing their guns in every direction. But Levon had his own way of dealing with them. This time, the nightmare had truly come to an end, and Levon immediately took Jenny back to her parents' home. As for Simon, he simply could not accept that his entire family, his associates, and his men had all been wiped out. But instead of receiving help from the mafia boss, Simon was left in disappointment when the boss told him to stop, for he knew very well that a man like Levon was strong, determined, and would never stop until he achieved his goal. Thanks to Levon, Jenny was finally able to reunite with her parents. With that finished, Levon then went to Ghani's house to check on his daughter. In the end, Levon's fight was never about vengeance, but about keeping a promise. Jenny was safe, and he walked away, not as a hero, but as a working man who never gave up on what mattered most. Thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss the next story. See you soon in the next story.